All right. How you guys doing? Welcome to the show. Main Libertarian, how you doing? How you doing, guys? Man, tonight, well, this afternoon, I should say, we gonna go in. We gonna have a conversation about some things because some things need to be set straight on these streets, man. Some things need to be set straight on these streets. Hopefully you guys enjoy the background tunes. Let's get into the show. I'm gonna call this show Black People's Kind of News. Hashtag FBA. Make sure you guys share the stream. Make sure you guys let other people know that I run these streams for you guys. I'm gonna be doing a lot more live shows and some more standalone videos, but a lot more live shows because I figure that I'm just as good live as I am on standalone videos. So right now I'm on mogadumnation.com. It's about the attack on lineage-based reparations. So Dr. Ray Winbush and the funded attack against lineage-based reparations policy. 3 things to know. Written by Ann Brown from Mogadum Nation. Make sure you give them guys a follow. Make sure you read Mogadum Nation, man. If you're not reading them, you are missing out. Some of the best new journalism that you have never seen before. These people actually keep it real. They keep it black. They keep it 100 at all times. Anyways, we're going to get into this study here. Take a swig of my drink. Let's get into it. Reparations is a heated topic, not just between black and white Americans, but within the black community as well. When it comes to who should receive reparations, there is a school of thought that it should be given to black Americans in general. Other reparations scholars, such as Dr. William Darity, Duke University professor in the Sanford School of Public Policy, say reparations should only go to black people who can trace their ancestry back to a black slave in America. And that's how it works there, because let me explain. I always use the Hurricane Hugo analogy, right? See, when I was younger, I saw Hurricane Hugo, and people in the Caribbean, they also experienced hurricanes, but it was different time periods. And me and the people in the Caribbean are both black. There was hurricane relief fund given to the Caribbean from America. Now, whether the funds were mismanaged, that's not on me. The funds were given. That was taken out of my pocket and out of your pocket as a tax-paying American. Now, do I get to go over to Jamaica or Barbados or any other part of the Caribbean and then demand some portion of the hurricane relief fund because I'm black and I also experienced something similar? It makes no sense when you really think about it. When you sit back and you think about it, it doesn't really make sense. But I want to play a part of this little piece here. Recently, there was a panel discussion featuring pro-reparations advocates such as Dr. Raymond Winbush, who are against lineage-based reparations. Many of these organizations have ties to major funding. Here are 3 things to know. We're going to play this particular interview here. I want to hear this particular interview. Let me pause the music real quick. I want to play this interview.
The lineage advocates, whom I call La. The lineage advocates, whom I call La. I could call another, but anyway, sound eerily like the slave catchers during enslavement who roamed the back roads of the South and stopped enslaved people from reaching their destinations unless they could produce papers written by their enslavers proving that their travel.
Wait. So because we asked for lineage-based reparations, you are likening us to slave catchers? Wait. I gotta hear that again. What? That is the most twisted. So, a requirement that's likening to a slave. Do you know what slave catchers did? Like, I want you to hear this again now.
The lineage advocates, whom I call La. I could call another, but anyway, sound eerily like the slave catchers during enslavement who roamed the back roads of the South and stopped enslaved people from reaching their destinations unless they could produce papers written by their enslavers proving that their travel was legitimate.
That is the dumbest thing I've heard I'm not even being hyperbolic. That is the dumbest thing I've heard in my entire life. That is the dumbest thing I've heard ever spoken. You are saying that because we want lineage-based reparations, that we're the same as slave catchers? You are trivializing what slave catchers did to my people, sir. I don't care how old you are. No, when you say silly stuff, your age doesn't matter. And I would actually ask someone like this to act their age. How can you say that because I'm asking for lineage-based reparations, suddenly I'm like a slave catcher? That is stupid. And all the rest of them sitting up there co-signing this doggone nonsense. Why? Are you that invested in undermining reparations? Because again, I'm so glad that Ann Brown laid it out the way that she did, because nobody really paid too much attention to this, right? No one's really moved by these people, but I want you to see this. This man is likening people like me who say that reparations should be lineage based, likening me to a slave catcher. Now, even if you disagree with my position, do you think that it's sensible to call someone the same as a slave catcher because they want strict requirements so that people can't undermine it? Smallwood in LACMA, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the show. Main Libertarian, welcome to the chat. Sam Donald, welcome to the chat. Welcome to everybody who's actually joining in. Make sure you guys are tapping the stream. Make sure you guys are pressing the screen. Make sure you guys are tapping it rapidly. Give me some likes and make sure you guys are sharing the live. Uh-oh. Am I getting a black screen for you guys? Okay. It's not a black screen anymore. Okay. So, number one, let's talk about Ray Winbush here. Lineage advocates are like slave catchers. Let's get into that into that particular nonsense. I'm so happy with how Ann Brown laid this out, because the one thing about Ann Brown is that she don't play. When she debunks you, she goes all the way in. I love what she did. Love what she did here. Winbush, lineage advocates are like slave catchers. Let's get into this nonsense here. Let me crank up my tunes though. So she says that, no, he said that Ray Winbush, lineage advocates are like slave catchers. Raymond Winbush compared reparations lineage advocates to quote-unquote slave catchers during the panel discussion, a part of which was posted on Twitter by an account named Non-Human Media. Winbush said people who demanded that reparations go only to those who have shown proof of slave ancestry were like slave catchers during slavery who insisted that free black people show their papers proving they were not slaves. So let me get this straight. Would you go over to Native Americans and say that? Because you know what? I'm gonna look this up real quick, because if what he's saying, if what he says has any merit, right, then it should hold up, right? Lineage based membership to Native tribe. I'm looking up something real quick. I'm looking up the requirements. Here we go. So, to show you that what Black Americans or Black descendants of American slaves are asking for is not unique, I want you to see this, right? So this is from the U.S. Department of the Interior, right? Establishing Indian ancestry, right? Because so if what Ray Winbush is saying here, that us asking for lineage-based reparations is similar to what slave catchers did, then surely Ray Winbush would have a problem with us paying tax dollars to people who behave just like those exact same slave catchers who require you to establish ancestral genealogically, basically a lineage in order to be a member of a recognized tribe. Establishing Indian ancestry. Some people want to become enrolled members of a federally recognized tribe. Others want to verify a family tradition, belief, fact, or fiction passed from generation to generation that they describe from an American Indian, either in their distant or near past, while others might want to just learn more about from whom and where they came. When establishing descent from an Indian tribe for membership and enrollment purposes, the individual must provide genealogical documentation. The documentation must prove that the individual lineally descends from an ancestor who is a member of the federally recognized tribe from which the individual claims descent. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, right? All the people who say that people like me are bad because we want lineage-based reparations, I want you to read the requirements to be a member of a federally recognized tribe of Indians, right? So I'm going to go over this again. The U.S. Department of the Interior, right? Establishing Indian ancestry. Some people want to become enrolled members of a federally recognized tribe. Others want to verify a family tradition that they descended from an American Indian, either in their distant or near past, while others want to just learn more about from whom and where they came. When establishing descent from an Indian tribe for membership and enrollment purposes, the individual must provide genealogical documentation, a lineage, right? The documentation must prove that the individual lineally, I want to highlight that word, lineally, descends from an ancestor who was a member of the federally recognized tribe from which the individual claims descent. Oh, so even the Native Americans do that, and yet for some reason, this guy has no problem with that. This guy has no problem. So let me get this straight. Ray Winbush says that we are like slave catchers because we are asking for lineage-based reparations, but Native Americans, they got the same thing just to actually join their tribes. And it's been like that since the beginning. They stopped doing DNA stuff because they realized that when you pull DNA samples from anybody in North America, most of it's going to go back to Native American or Black American or White American or Mexican or something. But everybody's got a little bit of Native in them. That's why they said they want paperwork. They want lineage. They want a clear line of descent that you come from if you want to become a member of Native American tribe. So how am I being like a slave catcher for asking for lineage-based reparations when Native Americans already do that? They already do that. Let's go ahead and get into this piece here. Raymond Winbush compared reparations lineage advocates to slave catchers during the panel discussion, a part of which was posted on Twitter by an account named Non-Human Media. Winbush said people who demanded that reparations go only to those who have shown proof of their slave ancestry were like slave catchers during slavery who insisted that free black people show their papers proving that they were not slaves. He added that lineage-based advocates also want to depend on documentation that's created by white people. He added too that lineage-based reparation advocates were pathologically anti-Pan-African, meaning that they were not advocating for the black community worldwide. What would that have to do with reparations here? Even if that were true. You see, he's just basically mudslinging, throwing everything to the wall to convince us that lineage-based reparations is not a good idea, even though every other group does it. Pan-African activist Winbush is also a research professor and director of the Institute for Urban Research at Morgan State University. He has also served as a faculty member and administrator at a number of universities, including Oakland University, Alabama A&M University, Vanderbilt University, and Fisk University. Number 2, Winbush and funding. Non-Human Media, they went in here. Why reparations? Wait a minute. Why reparations? Money for Reparations is the battle cry for the economic and social freedom of more than 25 million descendants of American slaves. American slaves. Dr. Audley A. Moore, president founder, the Reparations Committee for the Descendant of American Slaves. What do they point out here? Oh, this is heavy. This is heavy. This is heavy. Whoa, what is this? Let's get into this. Okay. Move this out of the way for a second. I want to see this. Okay, Moore was the founder and president of the Universal Association of Ethiopian Women, as well as the founder of the Committee for Reparations for Descendants of U.S. Slaves. She was a founding member of the Republic of New Africa to fight for self-determination, land, and reparations. The Republic of New Africa, they are back. I had a guy show up on my live stream talk about the Republic of New Africa. These people are government agents. I told people that. Yo, I told people, these people are agents for real. Anyone that you hear about talking about the new Republic of freaking Africa, these people are government agents. They are sent in to shoot down the reparations conversation and also do all kind of crazy stuff. The new Republic of Africa. Do you know what they want to put that at? The southern part of the U.S. Don't that just sound like something the government just came up with? And they only pop up when we start talking about reparations. They only pop up then. They only pop up then. They only pop up then. It is strange. It is strange. Right? I want to make this a little bit bigger. I want people to see this. Non-Human Media says, reminder, these people were given a $500,000 grant from the MacArthur Foundation to challenge cultural misinformation and disinformation surrounding reparations. What? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? That sounds like some You telling me that don't sound like some freaking op stuff right there? So they were given $500,000 in 2021, 2 years, equitable recovery. Founded in 2002, Fracture Atlas is an arts service organization with the goal of empowering the arts community with techniques and methods that are scalable and sustainable, such as technology and educational resources. Its project, the National Black Cultural Information Trust, MBCIT, uses communications, media, and cultural storytelling to share information and resources that correct and challenge cultural misinformation and disinformation surrounding reparations, racial and ethnic identity, anti-blackness, and other false narratives that harm black communities. Its work aims to uplift the collective survival and freedom of black communities through trainings, dissemination of educational tools, and webinars. This award provides flexible support to MBCIT. No one gives you $500,000 because it's going to be beneficial to black people. No one does that. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second, man. I told you the federal government is involved in this, man. They are all in this, man. Of the people on the panel, which include Nietzsche Taifa, founder, principal, and CEO of the Taifa Group LLC, a social enterprise firm whose mission is to advance justice, and Nkenyele Umoja, a founding member of the New African Peoples Organization and the Malcolm X grassroots movement. Wow. Why would you disgrace that man like that. Non-human media retweeted, quote, reminder, these people were given a $500,000 grant from the MacArthur Foundation to, quote, challenge cultural misinformation and disinformation surrounding reparations, end quote. Dr. Winbush's research has received funding in the form of grants from the National Science Foundation, Cleveland Foundation, Job Training Partnership Act of 1982, West African Research Association, Pitney Bowes, Inc., the Ford Motor Company, and the Kellogg Foundation, according to his Morgan State University bio. Do you think any of them are for the interests of black people or black Americans? The Kellogg Foundation, the Ford Motor Company, do you think that they actually care about black Americans getting reparations, or do you think they care about undermining it to keep us in the exact same position that we were always in? Because these companies were founded off of racism, right? I want you to see this, right? I want you to see how easy it is to find this freaking info. Ford Motor Company, history of racism. So if these were white supremacists trying to undermine us, right? Right? He didn't like Jewish people either, but there's a lot of anti-blackness from that man. Wow. Ford Motor Company. This is coming from the Equal Opportunity Commission, right? There's a history there, right? So it's not just that they actually built their companies off of the backs of their black workers, right? But even into the modern day, they're being sued and being forced to pay up $10 million to settle harassment investigations. Black people and women were subjected to harassment at their facilities. Do you think this company cares at all about us and our reparations? Or do you think that they are there to undermine it? The Kellogg Foundation, let's go look them up real quick. Let's go pull up some receipts real quick. Wow. W.K. Kellogg Foundation advises start. Hold on. I hate when they put those. W.K. Kellogg Foundation advises start a conversation about race and racism on today. The Kellogg Foundation. I wonder, what is their history on racism? I wonder. They're committing all this money to fight racism, but what is their history on it? What is their history on it? They are trying to put themselves in the middle of this conversation. And the question is why? I don't think these mega corporations care about us at all. The West African Research Association, you don't qualify for reparations. Why are you in the middle of our conversations? West Africa? Real BSC says the shooting happened across the street from my son's elementary school. Yeah, we're gonna get into that, man. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that for sure, man. I just want to kind of lead up to a little bit later in the show, in case people want to like start being silly. I want to get through this one though, but I'm from Colombia, man. I'm from Colombia, man. I lived on Two Notch Road, man. Well, near Two Notch in Northeast Columbia. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about that, and I already have a tab up, so I'm gonna definitely talk about it. But I want to get through this particular story first. Also part of the panel discussion of anti-lineage reparations advocates was Jessica Ann Mitchell. A warrior, a cultural communications specialist based in Washington, D.C. area. She's a founder of the National Black Cultural Information Trust. According to her bio on the organization's website, she's a descendant of enslaved Africans and Maroons in Georgia and South Carolina. She claims that. Additionally, a warrior is a leader and advocate for multicultural digital media. She's a leader of Black Bloggers Connect, the first social media network dedicated to supporting Black bloggers around the world, and founder of the Blogger Week Conference, a multicultural social media networking conference held yearly in Washington, D.C. In 2021, the National Black Cultural Information Trust, Inc. was awarded a grant from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation for its work to correct cultural disinformation, advance reparatory justice, and share cultural information, stories, and resources that uplift the collective freedom of Black communities, according to a press release. The grant is part of roughly $80 million in awards that MacArthur announced in support of the foundation's equitable recovery initiative, centered on advancing racial and ethnic justice. The initiative is funded by MacArthur's social bonds issued in response to the crisis of pandemic and racial inequality. Do you believe any of that? Do you believe any of that, Force? Do you believe that these mega corporations care about Black people getting reparations? 3. Lineage-based advocates, legally safest route. In a debate that threatens to divide the reparations movement, some advocates want reparations to be distributed based on race, going to all Black people in the U.S. Others, like reparations scholar Dr. William Darity, insist reparations must be based on lineage, paid only to descendants of enslaved people in the U.S. Reparations based on lineage have a better chance of overcoming political and legal challenges, according to Erwin Chemerinsky, Dean of the University of California, Berkeley Law School. So these are academic professionals who are saying lineage-based is the way to go. Reparations based on lineage as opposed to race are likely to be overturned in court, Berkeley Law School Dean Chemerinsky said during testimony in early March 2022 at one of the commission's hearings, the New York Times reported. The historic California Reparations Task Force, chaired by Camilla Moore, elected to provide reparations based on lineage. So in California, it's going to be based on lineage because it's the safest way to go. Moore is a reparatory justice scholar and an attorney. She was elected task force chairwoman at the group's first meeting on June 1st, 2021. When the task force opted for a lineage-based route, she said that not going with the lineage-based approach would aggrieve the victims of slavery. So she's saying that you would actually victimize us by not going with that. And I agree. Shout out to Ann Brown and shout out to Moguldom Nation for this excellent piece. Let's get into that story from South Carolina. I want to get into that story from South Carolina. I want to get into it. Happened at a Shell gas station. I know where this at. I know exactly where it's at. This is in Northeast Columbia, I think. Park Lane. No. That's in Park Lane. Yeah, I know where this is at, yo. I know where this is at. Give me a second. Let me get something to drink real quick. We gotta have a discussion about it. All right. Let's get into it. We're going to listen to the news report.
The power of one.
And it's about the young man who was fatally shot by a Columbia convenience store owner. And that convenience store owner has been charged because it was a fatal shooting. 14 years old. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
News 10 at 6. Live, local, now.
A Columbia convenience store owner charged with murder tonight after the shooting death of a 14-year-old boy. Richland County deputies say that Rick Chow, who owns a Shell gas station near Park Lane Road in Columbia.
So this guy's name is Rick Chow. He owns a Shell gas station in Columbia on Park Lane Road. And Park Lane, many people who are from that area, you know where Park Lane is. You know, Park Lane, Two Notch, Northeast, into Two Notch Road. And Two Notch Road is a long road, man. It connects a lot of places. Let's read some comments here. Real BSC says that shooting in Columbia happened across the street from my son's elementary school. Yeah. Ron Forever says this is not good. Real BSC says Park Lane Road. And Ron Forever says 14 years old. Yeah. Is the store still standing? I don't know. This guy's gotten into fights with customers. Yeah, a lot of, I'm not saying it's everybody because it's not everybody, but I have noticed that there's a particular community that has a lot of store owners who are particularly aggressive with customers. Like, for example, you remember if you're on Two Notch Road, there's a little turnoff. There's it's like a food line. It's where the WG Sanders is now. It's a food line that's right around that area, or at least used to be, or at least there. And there's also a Walgreens that's like right over there, and there's also a Department of Motor Vehicles that's like right around that area. When you turn down towards that hill and go into that freaking food line, there's a Chinese restaurant that's right over there in that corner. It should be next to like a barber shop, right? And that place has had several store owners who look just like who basically look just like this guy, who have attacked customers, physically attacked customers. Seriously, this is not an isolated thing from people from certain communities. It's not isolated. I'm telling you. Some people believe they are adjacent to whiteness. It was a black child this man fatally shot.
Columbia chased Cyrus Carmack Belton from his store last night after suspecting him of shoplifting. That incident happened, according to deputies, at about 8 p.m. on Sunday night. Investigators say Chow shot the boy in the back just down the road off the convenience store property.
So did y'all hear that? This guy fatally shot this young man, 14 years old, in the back as he's fleeing down the road. This store owner thought this guy was stealing something, and the video footage shows he didn't do it. That's why he's being charged, because, you know, in South Carolina, it is legal to defend your property, right? But the reason why he's being arrested is because the kid didn't steal anything. The kid didn't steal anything. The kid didn't take anything. He didn't take anything. He was innocent.
On Spring Tree Drive.
Nick Neville's joining us, and Nick, there had been some protesters out there during the day. Tell us what the scene is now on Park Lane Road there in front of that convenience store.
Dondi and Judy, so community activists and advocates against gun violence hadn't been out here all day, really all afternoon. That crowd has dwindled some. There's also a sign on the door of this gas station that says, "We're closed for Memorial Day. Sorry for the inconvenience."
So they actually closed the convenience store down. You see how many cars are out there? See, down in the South, man, we don't just tolerate that stuff, man, because we understand what we're dealing with. You see how fast we responded, baby? Oh, this is South Carolina. People will respond. You see how fast it happened? You see all these cars. Let me tell you something, right? For the next, I'm talking about a couple months, you're going to see people out there. They're going to keep that parking lot packed. That store owner will not come back. That store will be closed down for a long time. Yes, a long time. Yes. Because the black folks in South Carolina, see, we don't just tolerate this stuff. See, over in certain big cities, you know, y'all just take it. But down south, baby, we are known to bust back. We bust back. And they boarded up all the windows. They boarded up the freaking doors. Everything's all closed down because they know when we get down, baby, we get down. That was a 14-year-old black boy. That could have been my sons. One of my sons. That could have been one of my sons. You doggone right. We're going to respond every time. I'm not even in South Carolina, and I already knew, oh, that store's packed. Oh, that store, you got people lining up and down the street in front of that store. You see a car across the street right there, baby. You see cars lined up on the side, baby. You see people lined up in front of the door. Because we don't just take it in South Carolina. Anti-black racism cannot be tolerated. They charged that store owner with murder because they understood. They understood how South Kakalaki gets down, baby. Oh, they know that we bust back. And they know that the gun laws there are very, very loose. Yeah. See, down in South Kakalaki, we know that if too many cops bust out at freaking us, we bust back there too. We don't care if you got a badge on. We don't care if you happen to be a store owner. We don't care. We defend ourselves because racism cannot be tolerated. We have been targeted for the longest time. You're talking about ground zero for slavery in this country. 40% of the slaves who actually came off the slave ships, and don't get me wrong, there were already black people here in this country. Loads of them who were already here before the slave ships. Don't get it twisted. But 40% of the people who did come off of freaking slave ships, they came off through the port of Charleston. You're talking about ground zero. South Carolina. That's why we don't just take it. We understand the stakes. We get it. We get it. We get it on a level that many people in the country couldn't possibly comprehend. We get it. That could have been your child. That could have been my son. That could have been your whole world crushed. That could have been everything that you ever strive for and ever aspired for your loved one to be. All gone in an instant. Like that. Like that. Just gone. Just gone. Because of a perception. Do you know what got this young man taken out? The perception that black men have to be as broke as you, so we gotta steal. Even now, I make more money now than I've ever made in my entire life. And the average person who thinks that I'm walking outside, see, I live in a place where I'm walking around cars, right? And people have this idea that I'm taking cars. Excuse me, the average person saying that, my car is nicer than yours. I make 6 figures. My wife makes even more money than I do. And even then, even now that I make more money than I've ever done, I still get looked at. I still get watched as if I'm going to steal something that somehow I'm going to steal something that is less nicer than what I currently own. That's the reality of being a black male in this country. Even when you are at your best, you ain't nothing but, you know what I'm going to say. Even at your best, even though this young man, he did nothing wrong, didn't steal a thing. This store owner thought this young man stole a bottle of water. A bottle of water, and you shot someone in the back for a bottle of water? Over a bottle of water. That's how much this young man's life was worth. A bottle of water. A bottle of water. Rick Chow. And this sheriff right here, he covers up horrible things that happens to children. So I don't trust that sheriff there. That sheriff is a disgusting monster himself. But Rick Chow shot a young man. Carmack Belton. Listen. Cyrus Carmack Belton. I want to make sure I get his name correct. Cyrus Carmack Belton. He was inside of a Shell gas station. And Rick Chow, who owns the Shell gas station, believed that Cyrus was taking a bottle of water. And the cops reviewed the footage. And the cops said, this young man did not take a bottle of water. So this young man did nothing wrong. Completely, even the racist pigs said this young black man did nothing wrong. This 14-year-old boy. I shouldn't say young black man. He ain't a young black man. He's a 14-year-old boy. Did nothing wrong. Did nothing wrong. He was taken out for the simple crime of being black. Of being black. How many black men have lost their lives in the state of South Carolina that you don't even know? How many? When I was 6 years old in South Carolina, we didn't even call the police because we were that petrified. I saw someone who had been unalived while I was riding my bike. I was learning to ride the bike. Had on training wheels. I was way too small for it. But I was trying. And we rolled past the body where I grew up. See, South Carolina, a lot of people don't know. Down south, it gets real. In certain spots like North Charleston, South Carolina, Ashley Phosphate Road. If you're from South Carolina and if you've been anywhere in freaking North Charleston or Charleston, you know about Ashley Phosphate Road. Oh yeah, there are certain spots you don't hang around for too long at the wrong hour. Everybody from South Carolina knows that, right? So I've seen a lot in my life. A lot of black men being ignored as if we don't matter. A lot of folks just taking us out. Cops, citizens, you name it. You had a white man who had a black slave in the state. A lot of people don't, when I say that, a lot of people don't believe that. That happened in 2019. A lot of people don't believe that actually happened. A lot of people don't believe that happened. I want to go to archive.is. I want to archive that. If it's not already archived. Yeah. This happened in South Carolina. This was reported in 2019. I want you to see the level of anti-blackness you're dealing with so that you understand that when you see an Asian guy do it, it ain't just them. It's the white people, Hispanic people. It's everybody who's against black folks in that state, right? A white restaurant owner admitted to enslaving a black man. He got 10 years in prison. Bobby Paul Edwards of Conway, South Carolina. John Christopher Smith initially liked working at J&J Cafeteria in Conway, South Carolina, where he was hired when he was 12 years old. Hired a 12-year-old person, right? For about 2 decades, Smith washed dishes, bussed tables, and cooked food at the small town diner without issue. That all changed around 2009, authorities say, when Bobby Paul Edwards took over as daily manager and enslaved Smith at the restaurant for 5 years. By means of physical violence, threats, and intimidation, Edwards coerced Smith into working more than 100 hours per week without pay. Without pay. This happens in South Carolina. I want you to see the true face of this disgusting state so that you can understand what you're dealing with. The anti-blackness in that state is off the charts. Off the charts. I want you to see something else too. I want you to see how racist our Attorney General is in South Carolina. Attorney General Alan Wilson eats. I want you to see the racist dog whistles, right? So, the Attorney General in South Carolina is Alan Wilson. He had lunch with Kyle Rittenhouse at this place called Maury's Barbecue, right? Now, you may be asking, what is Maury's barbecue and why is that important? I want to make sure I make this big. Maury's barbecue. I want to highlight that. He could have went to any place of his choosing. Why would he choose Maury's barbecue? I want you to understand what a racist dog whistle looks like, right? I see, you might be thinking, well, you're reaching. That's not racism, right? No, I want you to understand what a dog whistle is. Because if we look up Maury's barbecue, what is the history of that restaurant? It was owned. I'm going to tell you before I look it up. I know the history. I know I'm from South Carolina. Maury's barbecue was owned by a man named Maurice Bessinger. Maurice Bessinger was one of the most racist people in South Carolina's history. He ran for governor in South Carolina, and he actually rode into town on a white horse and said that we gotta get these N-words under control. Seriously. And he flew the Confederate flag at his restaurant. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute. That's the place that they unpicked? I want you to see this, right? Maurice Bessinger. This is from the Wikipedia page, right? Maurice Bessinger. Right? Right? Segregation lawsuit. In 1964, Ann Newman, the wife of an African-American minister, sued Picky Park, which is owned by Maurice Bessinger, after Bessinger refused her entry into his restaurant. Newman sued under Title II of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and won an injunction against the chain requiring them to stop refusing service to African Americans. At the Supreme Court, this case also set a precedent assigning attorney fees to someone who successfully sued for an injunction under the act. Confederate flag. Okay, he flew that at every location. His views on race and religion. Bessinger was a Baptist and argued in Newman that requiring that he serve an African American customer was a violation of his religious belief. So he believed that God allowed him to be racist against African American customers. This is the same place that Alan Wilson, the Attorney General for South Carolina, chose to go and eat with Kyle Rittenhouse at. Do you think the restaurant choice was by accident? Do you truly think that? Do you not think that that is not a dog whistle? Bessinger believed that God gave slaves to whites. Wow. Wow. This is the guy who owns the same restaurant that Kyle Rittenhouse and the South Carolina Attorney General decided to go and eat at. This guy who believed that God gave slaves to white people and claimed that South Carolina had a gentler biblical history. In 2000, the state columnist John Monk wrote a column about restaurants, noting that one tract distributed by the restaurant, John Weaver's Biblical View of Slavery, argued that the idea that slavery is inherently evil since it appears in the Bible. So he's saying that slavery is not inherently evil because it appears in the Bible. And this guy owns a chain of restaurants that the South Carolina Attorney General and Kyle Rittenhouse went to go eat at. They could have ate at Burger King. They could have ate at Miyabi in West Columbia. Well, I'm not sure if that's Northeast or West Columbia. They could have eaten at Miyabi Jr. They could have eaten at Lizard's Thicket. They could have eaten at Bojangles. And believe it or not, Bojangles is not available in every state because I'm in Washington State and it's not here. They could have eaten at a lot of places, but they chose to eat at the most racist spot in South Carolina, right? And now you're wondering why we got Asians who come over here shooting black boys in the back. It's a racist, anti-black state. This state hates black people. It is the primary slave state where 40% of slaves who came off of slave ships, and once again, there were already black people here, but 40% of the ones that did come off of actual slave ships came off the port of Charleston in South Carolina. So this is ground zero for anti-blackness. This is ground zero for the idea that black people should be slaves. This is ground zero. This is why stuff like this can happen to black people in this state. Because this state's foundation is built off of anti-blackness. This state's foundation is built off of hating black people, particularly the black male. That is the truth. That is the reality that black men like myself and others who were raised and cultivated on the mean southern streets of South Carolina, right? That's what we had to face. That is our reality. That young man, Cyrus Carmack Belton, he lost his life because that state is run and predicated off of anti-blackness, particularly against the black male. Particularly against the black male. Everyone knows it. Everyone engages in it. Everyone participates in it. Everyone gloats in it. Especially the police. Even the black ones. Joe Biden, we need an anti-black hate crime bill right now. We need an anti-black hate crime bill yesterday. The Asian community got a hate crime bill. Asian and Pacific Islanders, they got that. But every other day you hear about some anti-black racists targeting black people. Every other day you are hearing this. I want you to see something real quick, right? I want you to see this, right? Black people, number one target of hate crime. I want you to see something real quick, right? So this was reported back in 2015, 2018. I'm going to go over to the news real quick. 2022. Right. So the FBI, back in 2015, another story from South Carolina about Dylan Roof. What happened at that church in Charleston? Dylan Roof. They are featuring Dylan Roof. The first picture you see right here is Dylan Roof. Another case, right? That the whole bird anti-race bill, that is toothless because it doesn't target, right? It doesn't target black people specifically. It has to be specific. Only for us. Do another one. Do another one. Listen, I have no problem with you writing 100 anti-black hate crime bills. But here's another case out of South Carolina. Dylan Roof. My cousin and I, both I and my cousin attended the same high school briefly as Dylan Roof. White Knoll High School in Lexington, South Carolina. I briefly attended White Knoll because my stepfather and my mother, they were having some disagreements about where to live because my father was my stepdad, he was an AME preacher. So with the AME conference, you gotta move around from place to place, right? And you are assigned churches. So he was assigned a church that was somewhere deep off yonder, and it would just be better if we were closer over in Lexington, right? So we briefly moved there, and I attended White Knoll High School for 6 months. Dylan Roof doing what he did is not shocking. A lot of the teachers there are racist. But here's a report from 2015, right? An estimated 260,000 suspected hate crimes happen in the U.S. every year. More than 50 out of every 1 million black citizens was the victim of a racially motivated hate crime in 2012. The highest of any group according to the FBI. Right? Reported back in 2015. Let's go over here. Reported back in 2018. NBC News. In every tally of hate crimes, black people are the most frequent victims. The most frequent victims. 2018. 2022 FBI report. This is from WISHTV.com, an actual news affiliate. Like they are news, you know? FBI report, black people are #1 target in Indiana hate crimes. Right? Hate crimes in U.S. surged 11.6% in 2021, fueled by racial ethnic bias. Right? Reuters. Hate crimes in the U.S. surged 11.6% in 2021, with the largest number motivated by bias against black people. With the largest number motivated by bias against black people. We are the #1 targets of hate crime and have been for the longest time. Have been for the longest time. The Marshall Project. Let's go check this out. New FBI data shows more hate crimes. These groups saw the sharpest rise, right? Who is the #1 victim? In 2020 and 2021, black people. And it actually rose by 14%. Black people are #1 victims of hate crime. #1. #1. #1. Black people, 2020, 2,871 hate crimes committed against us. In 2021, 3,277. A plus 14 percentage differential. It's rising. It's rising. We're the number one target. #1 target. And we have been for the longest time. And I showed you 2015, 2018, 2022, 2020, 2021. I showed you all those years for a reason. To show you that it wasn't just 1 year. It's been every year. Ever since the FBI has tracked this, we have been the #1 target, and we are the only one who doesn't have an anti-black hate crime bill. And that's why this Asian store owner had no problem with shooting this young man in the back, because he figured ain't no hate crime bill. Why do I care? Exactly. So I don't trust, right? I don't trust the prosecutors to do the right thing here. I don't trust the police, because I know what this state and what this country is built off of. Anti-black hatred. Especially in South Carolina. Without question. You know, I read this story and I was hearing about it, and I just knew how my folks in South Carolina, and shout out to all the folks in South Carolina who are protesting, who are standing 10 toes down, who are not just taking this. Shout out to you for doing what needs to be done. We got to stay on this. That's one of our babies. I am sick to death because I have a son in South Carolina and I have a son in Washington State. I have 2 black boys. As a black parent, this horrifies me. It's why I'm stuttering so much. Because I'm upset. Because I understand exactly how that store owner saw this young man. I know exactly how that store owner saw this young man. That's why I'm so upset. That's why you're seeing the raw emotion. That's why you're seeing people show up in protest. Here, look.
Now, throughout the day, multiple people came by. At one point, Richland County Coroner Nada Rutherford provided an update to this crowd, shortly
Wow.
after 3 o'clock, and there was loud applause from the crowd when Chao's charge was announced.
Yeah, so when Rick Chow was charged, the black people in South Carolina, they all cheered. See, that's what being on code is like. Don't talk about forgiveness. Don't talk about well, we gotta turn the other cheek now. Don't start bucking your ass. Do not buck your ass. We got enough of that already. You got somebody claiming to be George Floyd's sister, and she could, maybe not. Talking about something, I forgive Derek Chauvin. What? Derek Chauvin is trying to appeal his conviction, saying that he's not guilty. So if a man he's not even admitting to what he did, why do you forgive him? You only forgive those who understand what they did. I don't want to hear forgiveness. A 14-year-old is gone right now. Somebody's baby is out here right now. I ain't trying to hear about no forgiveness. I want to hear life in prison. Anything less is outrageous. And the black people should turn up. No, we ain't taking this. You got an 11-year-old who was shot by a police officer. Thank God he made it. That young man made it. Thank God. Thank God he made it. As a father of black boys, thank God he made it. But you got folks out here shooting black boys because they came to the wrong house by accident. By accident. Wouldn't even on purpose. And the same people who shot him were actual racists. My own grandson said so. You know who I'm talking about. Ralph Y'all. The young black man who was shot. You know who I'm talking about. You got folks out here following around black children. You got folks out here calling the police on black children because they're selling freaking lemonade. That's how a good bit of the Karen meme started. It was a white woman calling the police on some black children, little black girls, because they were selling lemonade. That's when a good bit of the Karen meme took off. That's why we need an anti-black hate crime bill to protect black children from these anti-black racists and these anti-black race soldiers, aka U.S. police. It's been time for this. Everyone says, oh, think of the children. Think of the children. Think of Tamir Rice. Think of Trayvon Martin. Think of Ralph Y'all. Think of little Cyrus here, 14 years old. Young black men gone. Gone. And for what? Mike Brown. So many young black men who are out right now who have lost their lives because of anti-black racism that people don't want to be honest about and Democrats are playing games about. We know the Republicans are racist. You don't have to convince me of that. I'm from South Carolina. I know the Republicans are racist. I get it. But what in the hell are Democrats doing right now? We got Jim Clyburn, Tim Scott, Todd Rutherford, all these so-called politicians who are black. Some Democrats, some Republicans, but they're all useless. It don't matter what side of the aisle they come from, they're all useless. Ain't done nothing for black folks. The only thing Jim Clyburn gives black people is a fish fry. A fish fry and some background music from some funky radio station that is about to go bankrupt and belly up anyways. The only thing that Tim Scott gives you is a bunch of nonsense, regurgitated Republican talking points. America is not a racist country. This man actually said this. This man actually said this. The only thing, yes, Ron Forever. What's up, brother? But yeah, I said it. I said that Jim Clyburn, the only thing that Jim Clyburn has ever given black people in South Carolina is a fish fry. And bad attitude. That's the only thing he has ever given black people in South Carolina. Jim Clyburn is the enemy of black people. Jim Clyburn is no different. No different. Listen, this man has been my congressman for most of my adult life. Yes. I've only recently come to Washington State, but for most of my adult life, this man was my congressman, and there has not been one occasion that I've seen this man do a damn thing for black people. Not once. Listen, I am struggling to find an occasion in which a black person called Jim Clyburn and he actually answered the phone. Jim Clyburn is the enemy of black people. Jim Clyburn does not care about black people, and he never did. He sold out a long time ago. He sold out a long time ago. He's worse than the white supremacists. Listen, the Republicans, they are predictable. They're all racist. But it's predictable. Jim Clyburn, you don't know where he stands. When he was asked about cash reparations, he shot it out again. Yeah. Reckon says Clyburn can talk for an hour and not say anything. Yes, Clyburn is the master of talking, giving speeches, but saying absolutely nothing. You know, honestly, I'm going to say something and you can tell him that I said it. Please, if you're in South Carolina, please tell Jim Clyburn that I said this. Jim Clyburn, do me a favor. Bleach your skin. At least then it would kind of make sense. Yeah, I said it and you can tell him that I said it. I said it and you can tell him and his corrupt daughter that I said it. That Jim Clyburn, he might as well bleach his skin. Because at least then it would make sense. We need an anti-black hate crime bill, and we need it yesterday. Everybody talks about their children. The white community mentions, oh, won't someone think of the children? Won't someone think of our children? Democrats start playing these games and give us an anti-black hate crime bill. We need it to protect our children so that these people can be held accountable for what they've been doing out here on these streets. Oh, yeah. Ron says, Jim Clyburn is 82 years old. He got a BET Honors Award. Public Service Award. Public service, sir. You just sat in office and collected tax dollars and drunk coffee and ate donuts. You did nothing for black people. You are a congressman from one of the most highest populated states for black people in the country. Almost half the state is black. A lot of people don't know that about South Carolina. There's a lot of black people there. A lot. And yet I can't find too many of them who says that, well, Jim Clyburn did this for me or that for me. Democrats love this man. Ron's asking, why do Democrats love him? Because he has the money to be funded for campaigns. And the National Democrats love him because he keeps black people in one of the highest populated states for black people. He keeps us on the treadmill. See? He keeps us on the treadmill. So big Democrats, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Obama, they give people like that money. These white supremacist think tanks, even the Republicans will donate to Jim Clyburn. It is not unusual in South Carolina to find opposing parties donating to the other party because they like that candidate. And a lot of Republicans like Jim Clyburn because they know he won't do a thing for black people. They know that. So they love him. So when you have big Democrats and even parts of the Republican Party supporting the same guy and just bankrolling him, you know, he can do more commercials, campaigns, posters. If you want to defeat someone like Jim Clyburn, you not only need, you know, a massive ground roots effort, you need a war chest. You need a purse. You need a bag. He is deeply ingrained. Law enforcement there loves him because he doesn't do anything for black people, and he supports law enforcement. Anytime Joe Biden puts up a bill to fund cops, Biden, Trump, Obama, Bill Clinton, George Bush, anytime you have a U.S. president who puts forward a bill to fund police, Jim Clyburn is right there. Anytime. Jim Clyburn is right there anytime. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it from the stream day, man. I want to just go in, man. I know that I went in, but that case really upset me. Could have been my son. Ron Fairfax says, I am lost. What do? We get him out of there. Black folks have got to wake up and get away from the freaking Democrats, man. Have them suffer. At least for like one term. If you're going to vote for them constantly, there's nothing to threaten them with. Democrats are like the Joker hanging from that ledge while Batman is holding them by the freaking ankle. And Joker saying, I'm not scared of you. You have nothing to threaten me with. And if you would simply not vote for them for one term, don't vote for them. Even if you don't vote Republican, don't vote Republican. Just don't vote at all. Sit it out. Sit it out. I don't approve of Republicans either. Don't vote for them either, but sit it out. Republicans also don't want you to sit out from the political process. The moment you do that, both Democrats and also Republicans are going to come running. They're going to say, hey, black folks, you want this? You want that? You have to make people work for you. I don't care what you've done in the past. What have you done for me lately? And lately, Democrats haven't done anything at all. And that's it for my soapbox. I call this show Black People's Kind of News. Do y'all like that particular title? You were told that we need to vote. No, don't vote. Sit it out. Sit it out. Black People's Kind of News. Do you guys like that title? Do you guys think that should be the title of the show going forward? Black People's Kind of News. BPKN. Roland Martin said you're wrong. Tell Roly Polioli I don't care. Tell Roly Polioli. Right? When he can... I'm not going to go in. Listen, that's a whole different show. I'll go in on Roly Polioli some other time. But Roland Martin, I don't care about what he thinks. But guys, let me know. What do you think of the title? Black People's Kind of News. BPKN. I kind of like it. I might even do like a separate channel where I even do this kind of live show just for you guys. You know? So, but anyways, guys, until next time, be safe out there. Watch your babies, hug your babies, kiss your babies, and protect your children, man. Because you got a lot of anti-black racists out here who just... they don't value your children like you do because they're anti-black racists. Be safe, man. Horns up. Peace out. Good night. And good luck.